Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome. We are on the chapter 11, verse 14 to 18. Arjuna, as we know, asked for Vishvarupa Darshana directly from the Lord. Basically, the Lord was there as Krishna, and Krishna was representing the Lord. And Arjuna said, okay, I understood now that you are not just my neighbor. You are not just a king, not just a warrior. You are the Lord, Ishvara itself. So, but I only see your body, and the roles you play in society. So I want to see this Lord, which is somehow invisibly hidden behind you, through you, as your essence. So I want to have this vision. So in order to have this vision, Swamiji says that we need a regular eyes and a special spiritual religious eye to be developed. So as I mentioned before, to have this vision which comes through the eyes of wisdom, the Vedic eyes, the eyes of devotion, basically you almost do not need a physical eyes. You need a physical eyes to identify the Lord through and beyond, through pervading, let's say, the substratum of all Namarupas. So you need to see the Namarupas so that you can inquire into the nature of the Namarupas, and then you discover that it's all the Supreme Intelligence appearing as Namarupas. Okay? So that's a way to get to Saguna Ishwara. But a blind man, for example, can get these teachings, and although he does not have a physical eye, he can understand, and then he can just touch, feel, smell, sense, and then in your mind, in his or her mind, the devotion rises, okay? Because he has the special, invisible, subtle eye of wisdom. So it is said that we need two eyes, but if we want to challenge this statement, we could by saying that a blind man should be allowed to develop devotion and the vision of the Lord. It is not a vision itself, it is a proper attitude. So it's an attitude, it's a religious attitude that produces reverence, love, devotion, gratitude, appreciation, so much so that the Jiva offers his actions, into the feet of the Lord. It's an attitude of giving away the actions dedicated to the Lord. So I'm seeing the Lord. For me, there is no question of Ishwara Darshana, exactly like Ravana seeing. So we have seen this example. Ravana was seeing he was not being benefited by this. Now, Kamsa would continue to see Krishna, and but not getting the benefit of, because he did not have the eyes of wisdom. He did not have the refinement, the purification, the preparedness to see the Lord. So one thing is to see the world. When you see the world as it is, you don't see the Lord. You need to have a sensibility to see through the world to understand world as a manifestation of the Lord, serving a certain purpose, following certain laws and principles that need to be understood as well. Therefore, the vision should be converted in Vishvarupa, Ishwara vision. So the Vishva Darshana, the vision of Krishna, for example, as the world should be converted into the vision of Krishna or Ishwara, in the form of the universe. So it's a different kind of vision. You see the body of the universe as Ishwara. It requires knowledge, and this knowledge should produce a change in attitude. It's not only appropriate knowledge, good knowledge, okay, intellectual knowledge. Knowledge alone is not going to do the job. So it is a knowledge that the Lord alone manifests as the creation. His knowledge is required. There is this cognitive factor involved, but in addition to this cognitive understanding, there is something very mysterious that must come so that the one develops this Visvarupa vision. Purity of mind is a must, a mind free from excess of rugged passion, a mind free from kama, krodha, etc., etc., a mind which is free from ahamkara, mamakara. So 3 examples of what purity of mind could be. Is free from excess of likes and dislikes, desires and aversions. And then a mind which is filled with desires and aversions, and if they're strong, if they're abiding, is going to produce a lot of mental emotion perturbations, disturbance, which can be a long list beginning with kama krodha. A mind which is free from the sense of ahamkara, mamakara, I and mine. So 3 levels. No? When you understand that the suffering you are bringing, referred to as kama, krodha, etc., the suffering is due to your desires and aversions, which are bind. And these binding desires and aversions, desires and fears, howsoever we wish, they are all rooted in the sense I, myself, the doer and the experiencer, the ahamkara of my actions, I, the karta, the doer, the experiencer, and I do I'm moved by my desires and fears, and I want what I want, and I call it all mine, and I have my demands on this life. So it's a nice way to put these 3 aspects. Therefore, pure mind plus well-informed intellect put together is called divya kakshu. If divya kakshu is there behind the mamsa kakshu, what is mamsa kakshu? The fleshy physical eyes. So you have the physical eyes, and you have the eyes of wisdom because your mind was purified in the light of the teachings of the Vedas. When these 2 visions are combined, I look at the world as the Lord Ishwara. And it is the Divya Kakshu who Arjuna was lacking. Yes, Arjuna was lacking. Arjuna sometimes is referred to a highly qualified prospect, or disciple. But here and there, it's presented as someone who did not know devotion yet. So Vishvarupa is already in front of Arjuna, but it was being missed. So he asked the Lord to bless him with this special Jivya Kakshu. And then there is a transformation in the very moment that finally enough, Krishna Guru decided to bless Arjuna temporarily with that level of purity and refinement. Arjuna looked at the same world, all right, but there has been a totally different attitude. Therefore, he was the Vishvarupa. Krishna at that moment, after the the powers of the Lord, purified momentarily the mind of Arjuna, he could see that right there in front there was not his neighbor. Krishna, there was the Lord, and the vision was clear. This is Vishvarupa, Darshana. When Arjuna has got such a vision, the impact is so much that he's dumbfounded, as it were. So, dumbfounded. What is the meaning of dumbfounded, please?
Could be amazed or awestruck.
Without words. Without words could be, or
yeah, dumb. Yes, that could be just like.
Because here he says, in fact, there is a silence for a few minutes, and during that silence, Sanjaya took the opportunity to relate or to describe to the king what was going on. And then Swami plays a little joke, say some people cannot see the moment to take the mic from somebody else. And the problem is when they begin, they never stop. So Sanjaya was listening and getting the vision of Ishwara. And then the moment there was a silence, he said, that's my opportunity. So I'm going to take the mic and begin. They will go on and on. So like that, Sanjaya, human nature, Sanjaya never got an opportunity. Now he has it. He got the benefit of the Visvarupa Darshan. Therefore, he is qualified to present the description as seen by Arjuna. Arjuna got that, I got that, so how come Sanjaya got that? Okay. We will see here the suggestion come from our Sampradaya. So Krishna apparently got this vision because he was blessed directly from Krishnaji. But Sanjaya, he was far away and he was watching things, and he had now to describe what was going on. If he would not have had this description, this vision of Ishwara through a certain attitude, devotional attitude, he would only describe, I don't know what's going on there, but Arjuna, Krishna is saying something to Arjuna, but I only see Krishna and Arjuna. So in order for him to describe what Arjuna was seeing, is the only explanation that he was being blessed with the same vision as well. How do you know that Sanjaya got that vision, Vishvarupa Darshana? Remember, Sanjaya was given a special power by Vyasacharya. So Vyasacharya was there writing writing down the Bhagavad Gita, and then he said, so this guy now, he came into the scene. I did not want to have another player here. And now, so Krishna brought me the situation that how is this guy going to describe this vision? So he does not have that kind of purity. So I'm going to have to intervene and purify the mind of Sanjaya so that he can do a good job. So Sanjaya remained in the palace, remaining there far away, with Dhritarashtra, the blind king. He got this special channel directly from Vyasacharya. Therefore, Arjuna's feelings and emotions were identical to Sanjaya's feelings and emotion. Sanjaya is able to recognize the same, and therefore Sanjaya gives the description to the benefit of all of us, which we see in the next verse, which we have seen in the verse 13. The Shahiram of the Lord. Can you you have the description? Is in it is in Sanskrit. Did
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
please?
Then, there in the body of the Lord of all gods, Arjuna saw the entire world, remaining in a single form, but distinctly divided in a manifold way.
Yeah. Okay, that was the verse, and Sanjaya was able to see as well. He got the blessings from our famous Vyasacharya. And then we have seen it in the verse 13. The Sharira of the Lord is not a few meter high or lower. He was not referring to the king, the size and how fat and how skinny, how tall, how short. But he was describing the, the body of the Lord as the Lord was presenting himself to Arjuna as Akasham, space. Space is the Shahiram of the Lord. This is a very nice proposition here. Akasha Shariram Brahma. And in the Akasha Shariram of the Lord, he saw the entire universe, which was appearing divided in manifold ways, galaxies, solar systems, and so on. Different universe, and we've seen the planets, continents, islands, and so on. Arjuna saw, and Sanjaya also saw. Sanjaya saw what Arjuna saw. Sanjaya saw Arjuna seeing it. Therefore, Sanjaya was witnessing two things, Arjuna seeing and himself seeing it. Such is the benefit of to be in the right place, in the right moment to get the benefit. Arjuna saw, Sanjaya saw. Sanjaya saw Arjuna seeing. Up to this we saw in our previous class. Verse 14. Then that Arjuna, who was wonderstruck and thrilled, saluted the Lord with his head bent low and spoke with folded palms. Because of the change of attitude, the change of perspective, Arjuna had a great impact. And this impact Sanjaya wants to bring out, and he can only describe it to the degree that he himself got the same impact. And after all, he has to describe the impact only through word pen. So now Swami plays a little joke that in the movies in India, in how do they call it? Bollywood, yeah, Bollywood. So there are many ways they describe with lights and sounds, and nowadays there is all these special effects, there is AI. So, but he had to present his description only with paper and pen or word pen. I don't know if word pen means that. Poor Vyasacharya had only poor pen and book, and he borrowed one of his pen to our good friend here, yeah? So that he could, yeah, he could present the description to the blind Lord, blind king. So he passed on to Sanjaya the pen and the book. Therefore, the poor Sanjaya had the possibility to present a poetic description only to reveal the impact. So there is something very beautiful to art, and poetry is one beautiful expression of art as well. There are certain things that they are not really scientifically provable, or they are not exact, and yet some people try to put it into words. So we from Vedanta, we like to put it into words. Uh, Anything. There is not much poetry, but there is a little here and there. And we like to base our descriptions of reality on logic, yeah? On logic based on our day-to-day experience of life. This knowledge is revealed knowledge, as we know, but there are a lot of different other self-realized people having had no contact with Vedanta and the Upanishads, presents reality in a poetic way. So Rumi being one of the most famous, And we cannot take away the value of that, although here and there we could also have an argument to say poetry does not properly address the ignorance, which is the cause of one blindness. So poetry is not going to knock down ignorance, but there is something to it, although it's not going to neutralize or remove the ignorance in respect to the true nature of the self. But poetry can point to something so grandiose, such as the nature of God, that the mind is going to produce or to be benefited with a positive impact. And this positive impact is devotion, So, as a side note, Arjuna was struck by wonder, not because he's seen a new thing, but he has a new perspective towards an ordinary thing, such as seeing his old friend or his old neighbor, the king Krishna. It's not an extraordinary sight, because Arjuna was already suffering a little bit of cataract, but he was benefited by his extraordinary vision due to the attitude, due to the purity that the Lord has conceded to him. And because of this attitudinal upgrade, he was wonderstruck, and his wonderment was so intense and deep that it began to express at a physical level. So now it sees, our Swami is presenting here that the same way, sometimes in some passage, some of the teachings of our scriptures, we see that when we have a very bad attitude, it begins as a thought, and then it goes into become a negative emotion, a negative attitude, and then it spells out as a negative words and sometimes negative actions. Okay, so likewise, when you have an extremely positive impact or emotion, such as devotion, that as well is going to impact, in this case, positive, your thoughts, your attitudes, and your words. So you're going to do things that are going to be revealing a total different nature of what's going on within the body-mind complex. The mind and body is one single integrated organism, never separate from one another. When we purify the mind, our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, emotions, and deeds also are going to be reflecting that purity, that inner purity. We had in the first chapter, Siddhanti Mama Gratrani, blah, 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 blah. In the 11th chapter, because of extreme wonderment, his hairs were standing on end. Yeah, I remember that. Was described that his hairs were like that. He was thrilled. So had whole hipulation, or he had blah, blah, blah. So Arjuna, and when he appreciated the Lord in the very formative universe, he was also physically uh, expressing a different action through the body. We cannot see the attitude, the thoughts, but we can witness the words and the expressions coming through the physical body. That much is available to everybody to see. And we could see that transformation in Arjuna, and then we can infer that he was thrilled, struck by such a vision. The wonderment was such that his mind was so pure, his attitude was so positive. And then we could see that indirectly by seeing the expressions coming through his physical body. The magnitude of the Lord is so vast. And in front of the Lord, we, the ordinary people, are so small, speck of dust. So how do we express that feeling? So in India, now you just bow down, and some people stay flat there for hours and days to come. We are a speck of dust. We described that the day, the cosmos, and the body of the Lord is the cosmos, in which contains universe, solar systems, and so on. Everything is so small compared with what the Lord is. Planets are still small. I do not know how to say when planets are invisible things, what to talk of the ordinary dust. So what is these invisible things? Maybe there is a mistake in the transcription here.
I think
Help
he's
me.
just saying that they are in relation to the whole universe. They're so small, they're just not visible.
Yeah,
Flat.
they're just like a small speck of dust. Yeah. So the planets are a speck of dust. The solar system is a speck of dust in proportion to the entire cosmos, and the cosmos is a speck of dust in proportion to the Lord. So how are you going to see this Lord? So if you break down everything as a speck of dust, we see the Lord. And then we have this beautiful suggestion here that present the Lord as space. Space, the first manifestation of the Lord in physicality, because the space is physical. And nowadays with science, it's proved that the space is a thing. It's not emptiness or nothingness. It is a thing. And they learned that space can be banded, you can curve the space. So if you curve the space, it means the curve is something that can be curved. Okay, so it's subtle matter. And space is the most pervasive principle we see in this projection, this superimposition produced by Maheshwara. So the first thing is space. So if space is there, what's behind space? Maheshwara, of course. Okay, so then we would say the three basic energies, the Prakriti of Maya, and then from the Prakriti of Maya, we have Ishwara, the one who knows how to put things together, manipulate the energies to bring about the elements and so on. And the first primary element is space. So space, Ishwara is behind the space. But if you want to have a vision of Ishwara, very subtle, we could do a step backward and see he saw Ishwara as total knowledge, total intelligence. But we are talking about Vishvarupa Darshana, and then he said, no, we saw Ishvara as the space. Okay? We see Ishvara as the space. With space that accommodates the entire cosmos. No? Of course, Nirguna Brahman goes beyond all small little speck of dasta, the so-called cosmos. Cosmos is nothing, the scriptures relate, compared to the vastness of Nirguna Brahman, the only reality. So in India, when we have such a vision and we recognize how small we are, we express it by namaskara. Therefore, pranamaya. Oh Lord, I'm nothing in front of you. So, I mean, this is so beautiful. This is the attitude of someone who had the sense of ahamkara, mamakara refined to the point that the ego is put by itself in its proper place. I am just a small instrument here, and I want to be an instrument in your hands, so to speak, and I want to live in harmony with you and your laws and principles. So forgive me for my arrogance so far. I have lived in ignorance, and ignorance manifests as vanity and arrogance. And now I have this vision of you. So I bow down to you, and I ask for forgiveness. So with prostration, with Namaskara Mudra, that's joined the palms. The palm is called Anjali. With Namaskara Mudra, so it took a few minutes for Arjuna to get himself together before he could even speak. So this is a beautiful experience, huh? A beautiful shocking treatment. Now Arjuna is going to speak. He is ready. Therefore, Sanjaya quietly withdraws to the green. Oh, Sanjaya was like, okay, now Arjuna, the big guy, is talking. I better shut up here. King, I'm going to just be an observer, a spectator here, and later on I will describe it to you. Now comes Arjuna. And with a new dress, we don't know. Yes, of course. What's the dress? The new attitude. Verse 15.
I have the translation.
Okay, please.
Arjuna said, O Lord, in your body I see all the gods, as well as hosts of all various beings. Lord Brahma, who is seated on the lotus, all sages and celestial serpents.
Yeah. Yeah, it appears here in between the Sanskrit. Thank you. And oh Deva, oh Lord, in your body I see everything, including the celestial locus with the gods. I see all the hosts of all various beings. I see Brahmaji, who is seated on the lotus. I see all the sages and all the celestial serpents. Do you have an idea what celestial serpent go for? Let's see if Swami sheds some light. Now Arjuna takes over and he describing the Vishvarupa as we know, as seen by him. Vyasacharya wants to highlight the description of Vishvarupa. So how to highlight if it's in a written form? So you could say, you just get a yellow pen and highlight. But in those days, there was no yellow pen for highlight. And then you just underline, okay? But Vyasacharya wants something more. You don't have, you can have a highlighter pen, color printed, blah, 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 blah. But in olden days, they were not available. So how they used to highlight certain passage? When you want to highlight something, the method used to be to change the meter of the verse. So you are listening to the verse and it has that kind of, beating, boom, boom, and then you change it, okay? And you change, they say meter of this locum. And then people sees that there is something more to that, means to say that is being highlighted. The method used was that. So you will be reading in 1 meter, and when the meter itself is changed, there is a jerk. If you sleep off, you will wake up, and that's the purpose. So Yasacharya wants to convey this most important passage, and he was highlighting it, the description of the Lord through the eyes, the Vedic eyes of wisdom. When Arjuna experienced the Vishvarupa, he goes through several emotional phases. His response is different, and we find 3 stages in Arjuna's response to Vishvarupa. So it could seen in the face, and it's so true. We know that. We can see in the face, especially people that we know well, we look at the face, we get a feel of the mental state of the person. So he goes through different emotional phases. The first and foremost reaction or response is Vismayaha or Askaryam. In fact, the world is an Iskaryam if you learn to objectively appreciate the world. The world loses its Askaryantivam the moment you look at the world from your own private standpoint. You have a program and rain is going to come. Then what will you say? Even though mother needs rain, suppose you have arranged a certain program and the rain is going to be a problem. But we know that the rain is a wonderful phenomenon, much needed right now. In fact, you will pray especially, rain, go away, because I need to go out for an event that is open in this on the streets or in the park or wherever. So therefore, rain becomes something undesirable to me. So he's describing here, we have our own subjective view of reality based on our raga dvesha and our circumstantial as well, desires and aversions or preference, And all this mental material will somehow influence my mental, emotional, psychological attitude. So this is our private vision. If there is something private in this new world we're gonna live, may be a very, very, very subtle attitude, because it seems the AI is gonna be able to even read our thoughts. So this private vision in the Shastra as Jiva Drishti is subjective vision of the Jiva, is colored by one's Ragadvesha, and the Jiva Shrishta alone expressed in the form of Ragadvesha, Kamakroda, and so on, and Ahamkara Mamakara, as was described just a few pages back. Therefore, word can never give you wonderment. Why? Because it's all being filtered by my Ragadvesha. Okay, when I see the world with our regular eyes, we're gonna say, "Geez, I like, geez, I don't like," but we are not going to experience the beauty and the wonderment. Word can never give you wonderment. It can never give you the sense that Arjuna was getting right there on the spot. Since Krishna has removed this Ragadvesha from Arjuna's mind, Arjuna is no more in this Jiva subjective reality. He is in the public Ishvara's world, nice, which is wonderful. Then you may say, Swamiji, do you say that the world is wonderful even after the terrorist attack and so on? How can you say that the world is wonderful? I would say still the world is wonderful. You know why? Because when you talk about the world, you are looking into only the earth, and there also only the land, and there also only a few human beings, and that too, those who have got what we call Asuric tendencies, no? And then you are looking at a certain negative phenomenon happening within our civilization. So you are not seeing the world. You are mostly focused on something which is by nature Asuric. Yeah? So we can never generalize. Yeah. I mean, there are different angles to understand this passage here. The world is the entire universe. And what's happening here, we get our vision and we do that, and we see, very, very narrow vision. And we say good and bad, good and bad. And if you go much into, if you get much focus on seeing how bad things are nowadays, sometimes, Silvia, I think it's your mic is open. If we get fixated and see how bad things are, we're gonna see more and more of that. So when we come to the scriptures, we are reminded of how beautiful this world is, because it's all God, it's all Ishvara. If you are going to look at the totality of the cosmos, this entire devilry are nothing but a mosquito bite only. Beautiful, huh? So whatsoever is happening here through this Kali Yuga is nothing. It's just a small discomfort from a mosquito bite. Even if the entire earth is blown up by a third world war, this is nothing from the standpoint of the creator's creation as the entire cosmos. If you are taking a square inch, but the very same blot is nothing, if you have a larger vision, you just, a blot appears big. What is a blot?
It's a small little mark, blot.
Yeah. You need to have the big picture, the larger vision. Again and again, we have to, especially during Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is quite a place and time to be because there are so many Asuric tendencies or in minds. People are so divided. They're going so crazy, psychologically lost, and tendency to violence and war, civil war, all of this. And we need to come back to the scripture at least 3 times a week so that we can see the world according to the vision of our scriptures. So you see the world from the perspective of the scriptures. Otherwise, we may get too much fixated to see a small manifestation, which is just like a mosquito bite. We are all the time looking at the negative things and people seeing the news. We know that negative things sell much better in the media. Everybody needs to look for negative things, scary things to get. Nowadays they don't sell newspaper, but they have these YouTubers that gets likes, and that somehow produce some cash flow. No? So we need to be careful looking at this negativity. Unfortunately, the news worth reporting are negative: robbery, killing, and so on. If you would see, I don't have TV, I don't watch TV. I have a TV, but only to watch some sport and some YouTubes. And very rarely I find a movie worth my time. But if we if you would know the TV in Brazil, there are some channels that literally there is blood that runs from the TV, real blood runs. Because it's so violent. They only like to show blood. Many wonderful things are happening in the world, but they want to report only these negative, concentrated negative things. So remember, the world is not consisting only of these negative things. Look through the vision of the Vedic vision, and you will see the beauty and the intelligence holding this world. And then whatsoever injustice, cruelty, we should always remember that is a manifestation of our circumstantial prarabdha karma as a civilization, as a city or a nation, or part of the planet. So it's everything. We are together. There is globalization. This is a manifestation of humanities or these civilizations, prarabdha karma, and we take it. It's prarabdha. I have no control over prarabdha. If there is a third world war, it's nothing but a small pinprick before the cosmos. And if I'm involved with this, so I take it. It is my prarabdha karma. It's funny because I used to play in the near past. Yeah. I shared with a few people, with Silvia definitely. I said, wow, we are so lucky, huh? We lived in this planet and we have never experienced extreme suffering, such a world war that is going to impact the lives of everybody. So I'm already old enough, nothing's going to happen. And I was so lucky not to experience what people has experienced during the First and Second World War. And now we are here, a few seconds, according to that famous clock, from having this parabada. Therefore, when we look at the world, not from our jiva, personal, subjective desires and fears, our ahamkara, mamakara, bhava, but from Ishwara, vision, Ishwara, subject, a totality of vision, being Ishwara as the totality, as it is wonderful in spite of all the so-called evils taking place in our planet, and Arjuna has got such a Ishvara darshana, and therefore he is wonderstruck. This Acharya Bhava is expressed in this verse 15 up to 22, and I'm looking forward to it because it's really bigger. Therefore, from 23rd onwards, the response or emotions undergo a change, which we'll see when we study those verses. So the first response is wonderment. Anything in huge magnitude creates wonderment. Whether it's a sunshine or a blue sky or a dark sky with all the stars or the ocean, with horizon, a mountain, a huge mountain such as the Himalayas. When we see waterfalls, why Niagara waterfall is so wonderful? Who has not seen water? Water is so common. Yet when you see such a voluminous waterfall, so much water dropping, this is something considered wonderment only because of the quantification of the water. It is the hugeness alone of the drop. Anything huge brings about a sense of vastness, which is a wonderment. The ocean is vast, is a symbol of our nature as Purnatvan. A huge mountain seems to be eternal in time, which gives us a sense of our Purna nature. So everything that is solid, huge, gives a sense of immortality and limitlessness, and we feel the sense of hugeness. And Arjuna was with the mindset in a way that he was seeing the entire cosmos as this huge thing, as the body of the Lord represented in the. It did not come yet, but it's gonna come now. The suggestion seen as Akasha. The more you look at the cosmos, the more you go into wonder. Therefore, Arjuna says, O Lord, in your body, Aham Deva Pasyami, I am seeing all the gods, not Krishna Shariram. Remember, I am seeing Akasha Shariram, Vishvarupa Shariram. I see all the gods, multitudes of different living beings. Bhuta means living beings. Vishesha means different species, right from the smallest microorganisms to the most evolved human beings. Bhuta Vishesha, multitude. Not only I see everything, and I see all of them, Isan Brahmana, I also see Brahmaji, the creator. I'm seeing the Brahmaji in you, who is seated on a lotus, which is, according to Puranas, the lotus is born out of Vishnu's navel. Padmanabha and upon the lotus. So this is all symbolic. Of course, Lord Krishna represents Samasti Karana Sharira. Samasti Samasti Karana Shahira. What is the meaning of Samati here?
As the cosmic subtle body.
Yeah, the cosmic body of the Lord as the cosmos, as the word says. Samasti Sukshma Shariram as well. So,
I'm sorry. The Samasti Karana is the cosmic causal.
Causal, and then the subtle body and the physical body.
Yeah.
So Brahmaji represents Samasti Sukshma Sharira as well, Pratibimbita, Chaitanya. So Vedantic technical teachings use symbolisms as well. If you say Samasti Sukshma Sharira, Pratibimbita, Chaitanya, a lay person cannot understand. Therefore, we use the lotus as a symbol, and Brahmaji sitting on it. You cannot ask, how can a person sit on a lotus? So, therefore, it's just symbolism. Brahmanism. Here, Isa is adjective to Brahma. Lord Brahma, he is God Brahma, he sit on lotus, okay? And then he reminds us of our rishis, because Arjuna was seeing the rishis as well, celestial rishis. Divya means celestial. Not only I see the rishis, but the celestial rishis. You can see a rishi incarnated here, but he was seen in the upper lockers. Now comes the serpents like Vasuki. Ananta, so indicate I see all the 14 lockers in your body. Okay. The serpents here indicates the locusts. Oh, okay, I don't know. So now this will lead to a question. When Arjuna saw Vishvarupa, did he see only the physical world that is perceptible, or did he see all the higher and lower lokas as well? Therefore, did he see only this physical material loka, bhuloka, or did he see other celestial lokas also? You can look at it in two different ways. Here, the verse says that Arjuna saw all the lokas because the word Brahma is mentioned. Sava and Deva is mentioned. Devas are not certainly here. They are in the Svaga lokas only. Therefore, did Arjuna see Svaga lokas in Vishvarupa? Of course. One thing we can see is he did not see Svaga lokas. One thing we can see is he did not see Svaga lokas. Okay. But Vyasashari is poetic describing that Arjuna saw everything. It can be taken. Can you help me out with this passage? Therefore, did Arjuna see Svagalokas in Vishvarupa? Because it was mentioned. No? I don't know if it's a question mark. Therefore, did Arjuna see Svagalokas in Vishvarupa? One thing we can say is he did not see Svagalokas, but Vyasacharya saw it, maybe. Is poetically described that Arjuna saw everything. It can be taken as a poetic description of the Vishvarupa on this superior locus. How do you know it's just a poetic description? Why it cannot be taking place literally? We saw, we can take it as a poetic description because later in the Vishvarupa Varnana itself, it said Arjuna saw Bhishma, Brona itself entering the mouths of Vishnu and getting crushed. In Vishvarupa Varnana itself, it said all this. Anything from you guys?
I don't think he saw the other lokas because Swamiji talks about this being what you can actually see with your eyes, even though you need the divine wisdom as well to recognize it. But we can have the divine wisdom, but we still can't see the other lokas. So
Yeah.
this is my perspective.
Yeah, after all, this is a Vishvarupa vision, So you see the physical material, you see something more or beyond the Namarupas that that makes up the universe, the cosmos. And later on, it said the Vishvarupa, Vartan itself, is said Arjuna saw Bhishma, blah, 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 getting crushed. So he was not seeing the celestial locus, but somehow our Vyasacharya is describing it. No, so now is Vyasacharya that is describing it. Okay. Bhishma, Droma, Karna entering the mouths of the Lord and getting crushed and killed. It's a literal event of a poetic description. No, it's a clear actual event. It's not very poetic to describe beings, especially good people being crushed in the mouths of the Lord. Arjuna. Okay. Okay, much fun. I'm enjoying. I did not know I was going to enjoy these descriptions. I think that listening to you guys yesterday helped me to develop appreciation for these verses. Anything from you, Lynn?
No, except that I too, it is so beautifully poetic, and it does, breaks boundaries of what you expect to see in the world, through this
Definitely.
difficulty. Yeah. But one needs that sadhana chatushtaya sampatti adhikari. You have to be prepared.
Yeah,
That is you have to be prepared.
definitely. Okay, so our schedule is for Friday. We meet again. Namaste. Thank you. Until next time, Ishwara willing. Bye-bye. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Shwara, once again, bye-bye. We meet coming Friday.